Welcome to this Take and Make Craft video produced by the J. Lewis Crozer Library. And we're going to show you in this video today how to make December's Take and Make Craft. It's a string of stars. It's a little involved, so we thought the video might be helpful. You've stopped by the library and you've picked up your Take and Make craft bag, and there are a number of items in the craft bag. So I just want to show you what's in there. We have a lot of paper. We have 2 sheets of silver paper and 4 sheets of white paper, and we can use that paper to make a string of winter stars. You have some green paper and red paper, and you can use that paper to make a string of Christmas stars. And then we've also included some black paper and green paper and red paper. So if you want to make a string of Kwanzaa stars, you have that paper as well. You also have some baker's twine, some plain white twine that we will use for the string of, you can use it for the string of winter, the silver and white stars. And then you'll actually have 2 pieces of the gold and white baker's twine, which you can use if you're going to make the string of Christmas or Kwanzaa stars. You also have some swabs, cotton swabs, and you have a container of glue. If you have a glue stick, you can also use that, right? So, or you can use the glue that is in your bag. What's not in your bag are a pair of scissors. You are going to need scissors. A ruler would help, but it's not absolutely necessary. And a pencil would help as well. So here's what we're going to make. Here's kind of our final project. And I can't really hold it up for you. Well, maybe I can. This is our string of stars, right? And these are the Christmas ones. So we're going to be making these stars. These are really big stars, and they use 1 sheet of paper for each part of the star. If you'd like to make more stars, you can make the smaller one, and what you'll do is you'll fold the 8.5 by 11 piece of paper in half and use the pieces, the half pieces, to make this star. I'm going to show you what that looks like, but we are going to do a sample of the big star in this video. So let's get started. The first thing you need to do is you need to make sure that you're working with a square, and obviously an 8.5 by 11 is not a square piece of paper. So we need to create squares. Now, if you want to make the smaller ones, you're going to take the paper and fold it in half so that you have 2 pieces. So now you have 8.5 by 5 by 5, and then you want to cut that in half. I have to say, I am not a really crafty person, so if I can do this, you can definitely do it. So now I've got 2 pieces of paper, and I'm going to use them if I want to make this smaller star, right? But I'm just going to put those to the side for now because we'll do our demonstration with and make the bigger star. So we're going to take our 8.5 by 11, and you're going to take 1 corner, maybe the corner down at the bottom right, and you're going to fold it over till it lines up on the other side. And what we're making is a big triangle, and that's going to end up creating a square. So you want to make sure that it's lined up. And I'm spatially challenged, so I have to actually look at it so I can see the corner. And then I'm going to crease along here. So now I've created this triangle, and I'm going to trim this long rectangle piece off. I'll do that. I have to admit, it's probably not as even as it ought to be. So do your absolute best to make sure it's even. Our assistant library director, Joanne, will always say, hold on to these because you can make paper chains. You could cut them in half again for a thinner chain, and you can make some paper chains. So now we have a square, all right? And we have a square that already was folded on the diagonal to make a triangle one way. So then we want to open it back up again, and we want to take the other corner and we want to fold on the diagonal in the other way, in the other direction. Line that up as best we can. All right, so now when I open it up, I actually have 4 sections looking kind of kite-like. So then I'm going to take it and not hold it on the diamond side, but hold it on the square side, and I'm going to fold it in half. Again, doing my absolute best to line up these. And I have to admit, I usually need to see it this way. So I'm lining up the corners, and it's as even as I can make it. Right, and I'm going to crease that fold. Right, so now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm going to do it one more time in the other direction and fold again on the horizontal, on the square, not on the diagonal or the diamond. And I'm going to line up my corners, and I'm going to crease one more time. Whoops. Let's see if I can get that a little more even. Okay. All right, so now when I open it up, I actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 sections, okay? And that's my starting point. What I want to do now are make some cuts. So if I put it down with kind of with the back side where the folds are, and you'll notice that there's a cross or a plus sign right here and here, the middle lines. And we want to cut almost to the center, but not completely to the center. So I'm going to use my trusty ruler. And what I have here is approximately like 4 and almost 1/4 inches. So 2 and a little bit, I'm actually going to mark like 2 1/4. And I'm going to go around and mark that. And that's where I'm going to cut to. So that'll be a little bit less than half. So I'm marking that on all 4 lines. 2 1/4. So I'm measuring from the center out along that crease and just putting a little pencil mark there. Just because I'm really awful at noticing that things aren't the same width. So I need to help myself with those little prompts. All right, so now I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just going to cut along that crease just down to the mark that I made. And I'm going to do 4 of those cuts on each of those center creases, kind of on each side of my square. I'm going to try to cut actually on the crease. That one's a little off. And again, put my scissors right in the crease and cut. So now I've got 4 cuts. Got 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, and 1 there, okay? So now at this point, move this stuff out of the way here. At this point, I'm gonna take the piece where the cut is, and I'm going to create another triangle. So I'm gonna fold it from the corner over to that other crease. I'm gonna do my best to kind of get that right at the tip there, and line that up so that I have another triangle with the point that lines up with the crease, and bring that over. I want it to come right alongside the crease because I'm going to fold on each side. I don't want them to overlap. So I'm going to take the other side and I'm going to fold that as well, fold into the crease. They're not going to overlap. They're going to just touch up against each other. And it's going to look like that. And I'm going to do that now at each of these corners. So what I'm creating is I'm creating the corners of the star. I'm going to fold again, doing my best to get it right at the point. I have to admit, when it comes to this, I'm sort of a recovering perfectionist. So as long as I get it as close as I can, I hope no one's really going to be examining the points of my star in my Christmas or holiday decorations. So I'm working on the 3rd one now. Same thing, I'm taking the corner. I am folding it into the crease and trying to get it to line up so that the fold is right there at the tip. Right, and again, I'm not overlapping, just bringing it to the crease. And the same thing here. All right, I have 1 more to go. I overlapped a little teeny bit. All right, last one. I'm going to make sure that I have that at the top here. Bring into the crease. And the last side. Okay, so that's what it looks like now. Remember, so we cut a square, we folded 1, 2, 3, 4 times on the diagonal, the diamond, and on the square, the horizontal. And then at the creases that create that X, the creases in the center of each side, we cut almost halfway down the crease. And then we took each side, then that was cut, and we folded it into the center, okay? Now, at this point, I'm going to stop the video because you need to do this multiple more times. So each star that we're going to create is 2 of these. So you need to get another piece of red paper, follow those directions all over again, and create a second one of these. So we're going to create all the stars first before we start gluing. And then if you're making the Christmas one, or you're doing the winter one, whichever one you're doing, then you pick your other color and you want to make 2 of those. And then you pick your third color and you want to make 2 of those. And at that point, when you have all of them completed, then you can come back to the video and we'll keep going, and we're going to glue them. We're going to put them together. So I'm going to pause the video right now. So that took me about 30 minutes, maybe 35 minutes. And I now have 6 folded stars, so that which will end up giving me 3 of my 3-dimensional stars. So I have these 2 red, I have 2 green, and I have 2 more red. And remember, these are the big stars. So they were made with 1 sheet of 8.5 by 11 paper that we cut down to a square, folded like a diamond in both directions, folded horizontally in both directions to give us the 8 sections. Then we did the cut on each of the center creases and did that fold. So we have this now 6 times. And remember, if you want to make twice as many stars and make them smaller, they'll be more like this size. You can see they're kind of significantly smaller. You're going to take one of the sheets of paper and fold it in half to give you 2 pieces. And then you're going to do that same fold to create the square. And then all the other folding and cutting is identical, just on a smaller square. All right, at this point, we're going to start putting them together. And if you have a glue stick, you can use that. But what we gave you in your bag, your Take and Make craft bag, is a cup of glue. And then we put some cotton swabs in there as well. So you can use either one of them. We want to show you how to create the string of stars. Now you can do whatever you like with these stars. You don't have to string them together and hang them. You can use them separately. Just kind of put them on in your display in some way. We want to acknowledge that the idea for this craft came from Dusty Coyote's blog, and it's called Winter Star. And the link directly to the blog page is located at our website in the event calendar for this Take and Make program. So what we want to do next is create our string, make sure that we have our string. So I'm going to take the piece of string. This is the baker's twine that is white and gold. And I want to make the loop to begin with. So I'm going to just cut about maybe 5 to 6 inches, depending on how long I want it looped. And I'll just cut that piece. And I'm just going to tie a knot at the bottom. I am going to tie a knot at the bottom. Get both pieces through. Okay. So there's my loop that I made by putting them together and tying them at the bottom. Actually, probably that knot could have been a little further down. And then I want them to be about 4 inches apart. So I'm going to need a couple 4-inch pieces of string. So I'm going to cut a few of them. Actually, I'm going to need, so I'm going to have my loop at the top of one of the stars, a piece of string at the bottom that's going to attach to the next star. And then I'm going to have another piece at the bottom here that will attach to my third star. So I'm going to need 2 4-inch pieces and 1 5-inch piece that has the loop in it. They're the strings that I need. So now they're ready. I'm just actually going to try to move this if I can knot down a little bit further. Maybe I'll just trim off the bottom. There we go. That will solve my delay. Okay. So now we're going to start gluing. And the reason why we want to have the string ready is we want to glue the string inside of the point so that it will just be sticking out of the point and it'll look a lot neater than trying to glue it on the outside. What we're going to do is we're going to take these 2 pieces that we folded and we're going to end up overlapping them like that, which is going to give us the 3D effect. So we're kind of making a cone with that. And we're going to do that all the way around the star. But I want to glue the string, my loop string inside first. So I'm just going to take a little bit of glue and put it right kind of on the crease, just right there in the tip. And I'm going to take my loop and put it inside the corner there up at the top. So it's like that and it's glued inside there. Now, if you're going to use a glue stick, you're just going to take your glue stick but we're going to take our little swab, a cotton swab, and I'm just going to put glue on one of the flaps that I folded all the way up to the top there. Sure I have enough glue. And then that's going to become my bottom piece. And I'm going to take the other piece and put it on top, kind of squeeze them together. And then I actually use my finger to come along inside and kind of paste it together, glue it together. So I've now created a cone. So I've created now a 3D point to my star. And I'm going to do I want to do the opposite corner. Get back here a little bit more so you can see. They got the opposite corner so that my string will be, my loops at the top, and then the string that's going to connect the next star is in the point opposite. So I'm going to do the same thing. Got a rolly chair here. And I'm going to get some glue and I'm going to put it inside along the crease all the way up to the point. And I'm going to take one of the pieces of string that I cut and I'm going to put, I don't know, maybe about 1/2 inch inside. And again, that's glued down. And then I'm going to do the same thing again. Take my glue, cover the flap. So if you can, make sure that you can see, covering the flap with glue. And if you got a glue stick, that's going to work really well. Get glue all here, all the way up to the point, along the sides, and make sure it's all going to be sticky. And then that one's going to go underneath, and the other one's coming on top. Make sure that I have the whole thing underneath all the way up to the top. And I'm going to need my fingers. I'm going to take my finger and put it up in there. And then smooth it down so that I have the one flap underneath the other one and they're glued. So now I have 2 points. So now one of the things that you're going to notice is that you might have to be helping these creases at the top. The creases are going to end up so that you have kind of that 3-dimensional point coming out. So let's work on the other 2 sides then. We've got 2 of the sides done and we're going to work on the other 2 sides. So we don't have to worry about strings because these are the side corners rather than the top and bottom corner. So I'm just going to take my glue and put it alongside the flap here. On this flap, on the top of it, put the glue all the way down to the corners, try to get all the way up to the point. And then I'm going to take the other flap And we're going to squeeze these together. And so now I've got one flap underneath and one flap on top. I'm going to bring it over as much as I can, make sure that I close that together as tightly as I can. I've got a finger inside. I'm smushing. And at this point, I realize I need to help these creases along a little bit. So I've got to come back out here and kind of push in the creases to get my point. All right, and after I get my last side glued, I'll be able to come back and make sure that they really look correct. So last one, take the glue, put it on one side, one flap that you folded, all the way up to the point. Make sure that you come out to the sides. And then you're going to put them together, put the one flap over top of the other. So you're kind of squeezing them together a little bit, creating this three-dimensional cone point. Kind of just gently make sure that they're together, right? And then I'm going to come back here and I'm just going to make sure that I'm folded okay. And that's what it looks like. So now I have the my loop at the top, my string at the bottom to connect the next star, and I've got all four of my points. It looks a little lopsided, but it's okay because we're going to put them together. So this, I think, is a little lopsided because this crease could be folded a little more tightly. There we go. Okay. So there's one half of one star done. Now, I'm going to show you what we'll do, the stars that are connected to the string, and then I'll pause the video for you to do the rest of the gluing, and then we'll come back and we'll put them all together. But let's do one more. So now I'm going to take one of the green ones because I want to attach a green star to my red star on my string of stars. If you were doing other colors, whatever you would want as the middle star, that's where you would go next. And so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put this one over to the side. I'm going to call this my top point and that my bottom point. And I want to put string in the top and string in the bottom because this is my middle one. So I'll open it up with my glue. I'll put a little bit of glue in there. Now, because this is my top, I'm actually taking the string from the bottom of the red star and putting about 1/4 of an inch inside the top point of the green star. Now, even as I'm doing that, I'm thinking if you want to do this step last, because now you're going to have a star attached to the other star. When you do all four sides, you could do this step last instead of first, but I already put it in and it's already glued, so we're going to keep going. They're not hanging, so it's not going to be the end of the world. Sometimes I always do things a little more difficult than they need to be. So there we go. So there's my top. So you can see they're attached at this point. And then I'm just going to rotate. I think I'm going to do this one next. Put some string here. I'm sorry, not string, put some glue there. Sure that I get it all the way up to the corner. Right, I'm going to bring them together. The top one that's not glued, attached to the bottom one that is glued. Got my finger inside to make sure that that's smooth. Getting a little glue on my stars, but it's okay, it's going to dry clear. Just going to swing this around so I can get to the third one. Put glue there on the one flap. Sure I get it all the way over to the side. I'm trying not to use too much glue so it doesn't overflow. And again, I've got these creases that I need to make sure are really creased so that my point, the top of my 3D star works well, but I can fix them after I've glued. So now I am gluing the third point together. Again, I'm pushing them together. So I have one flap underneath the other. flap underneath, so obviously the one that has the glue on it. Put them together. And then now I'm coming to, oh my goodness. All right, so I just forgot to put my string in. Have I created a complete disaster? Maybe not. All right, I undid it. I'm going to put a little glue in there, stick my string in. I think I haven't created a huge disaster. I'm gonna put a little bit more glue back on here that I took it apart. Put it back together again. Have I rescued the point? All right, so you really need to pay attention to what you're doing is the moral of that story. And then I have one more, so I'm going to just swing this around a little bit more. So I would definitely say it probably is going to make more sense to save the point of the star that's connecting to your other star to be the last one you work. I'll just make it a little bit easier. All right, so I put that one together. Now I need to, I'm going to turn these over. I need to come back and I need to adjust the creases. I have the center, so I can get my finger under there and make sure that they're all folded on the right crease. All right, now I'm not going to actually let this hang because I want it to glue, the glue to dry. But you can see now, I've got, we'll turn it this way so you can see. I've got the red one with the loop. I've got the string that's hanging my second one, and then I have the third string ready for that final red star to be attached. So let's try that and let's see if we can do it properly this time. I'm going to put them up there. I'm going to take my red star and I'm going to think through this. I want to attach the string to the top there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the other three points. And then the last point that I do will be the point that connects to the green star. If you do this enough, you figure out all these little tricks that make this a little bit easier to do. All right, so I'm gluing on my flap, taking them, got the bottom, I'm gonna kind of squeeze them together so that the flaps, one flap is over the other. I've got my finger up here to help me smooth it out, okay? I'm gonna come along and make sure that my creases are folding properly. I'm gonna come and do the second one. Take some of my glue. My little cotton swab is getting all cottony. It's getting, the cotton's coming on. I don't know what word I want to use. It's hanging off of the top of the swab. Right? So there's my second one. Squeeze them together. Make sure that I kind of line that up. Come back. I'm looking at the creases, making sure kind of from inside that they're folding to this point. Okay. And I have one, I've done two, so I have one more to do before I attach it to the green star. So we're going to put glue on a third one. The way cover that, what is going to be the bottom flap. Right? Take them and squeeze them together so the bottom flap is underneath the top flap. One side, make sure that the point comes together. Got a finger inside to kind of help keep it open like a cone. I'm gonna come inside and check my creases to the point. Oh yeah, that one really needed some help. All right, and then the last one, so I've done three. This last one is the one that's going to attach to my green star. So I want to do the same thing. I want to open it up. Okay. You see that it's opened up. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue right in here to put my string there. A little bit in there, right? Take the end, the other end of the string, maybe about half of an inch inside. And then at that point, I will put glue on this flap. Right up, try to get it up to the point there. And then, whoops, you need to go back in there, please. Here we go. This top flap will come over to the bottom flap, get my finger up in there to make sure that I have the cone. So I have the 3D happening. And then because I've really been working on those creases, they look pretty good, okay? So here's what we have now. We have three sides done. We've got our 3 stars and we have one side of each star done. And we also have the string inside the points so that when we hang them, they're going to be connected by our gold and white baker's twine. All right, I'm going to pause the video one more time. I'm going to make my other 3 sides. Okay, so I have 3 sides left that I haven't glued yet. And I don't have to worry about string on these. So I'm just going to glue them so I create an identical star without the string. And then we'll come back and we'll put them together. So you can be creating yours too. Okay, so now we have all 6 of our stars made. We've got the second one, the second red one for the top star, the second green one for the middle star, and the second red one for the bottom star. If you want to jazz these up a little bit, add a little glam, at this point, you could add some glitter to the stars. If you wanted to decorate them in some way, it probably would have been easier to do that decorating before you started gluing when they were still 2D rather than 3D. But if you'd like to make them a little more sparkly, you could do that at this point, let your glitter and glue dry, and then put them together. So the last thing we're going to do is put them together. In the original post with the directions, the blogger suggested that you use a hot glue gun. If you have one, you could certainly use that, but I used glue to put this together. It had to sit and dry a little bit longer, but it worked just fine. I think the only thing that's awkward is trying to figure out where the glue goes, because we're going to take, let me just move these down a little bit. We're going to take one star and we're going to put it on top of the other star, and we're going to make sure that the points alternate so that the points are, what looks a little bit like the Mennonite star. We're going to glue it so that we now have, instead of 4 points, we end up with 8 points because there's points in between points. So I'm going to take my glue and I'm just going to kind of put it on the bottom of my cones on all 4 of them. I'm going to come up a little bit because I want to make sure that I am putting the glue where the other star is going to go. Then I will take my other star so that my point is there, and I'm going to put it in between. And I want to do my best to kind of make sure that that center hole is not showing, but I'm not going to get rid of that completely. And then that's just going to sit and glue and dry. The glue is going to dry. And I might, like I see a part here where I probably needed to do a little bit more even up higher. So I'm just going to come back and put a little glue there. You can see why a hot glue gun was suggested. But this glue will work. I'm going to do the same thing. I think I'm actually going to put it on the top one that doesn't have the string. Put it there again. I'm putting it at the edges. I'm going to come up a little ways. That was a lot of glue on that. I'm going to even that out a little bit. And then I will put that alternating in between. So now my points are in between points. I might even come back and put a little glue up here where it seems to be hitting. And let that dry. I'm going to try a little bit more on the other one too, because I feel like I'm not quite getting the glue where it needs to be. Okay, try that one again. There we go. It's a little bit better. Let that dry. Now these do need to sit and dry for a while. I'm going to rest that one. Okay, and then I'm going to do the last one. And I'm going to come up a little bit higher on my point, so I really do have glue where the one star is going to be touching the other star. So it will glue and stick. Okay. I'm going to put points inside of points. And let it dry. Okay, and there I have my string of stars. So here's my completed one. And they are staying together. Even though when you first glue them, it looks like they might not. So there's my top one, there's my green one, and there's my other red one. So I can hang that up. So thanks so much for stopping by the Crozer Library and picking up your Take and Make craft for the month of December. We wish you happy holidays, whether it's Hanukkah or Christmas or Kwanzaa that you're celebrating or just enjoying the season. And we hope that you'll stop by the library. Thanks so much.